Part 1. In this section of the test, you will have an opportunity to demonstrate your ability to understand conversations and talks in English. There are 3 parts in this section, with special directions for each part. Answer all the questions on the basis of what is stated or implied by the speakers in the recording. There will be time for you to read the instructions, and you will have a chance to check your work. The recording will be played once only. Time allowance: about 40 minutes, including 5 minutes to transfer your answers to your answer sheet. Part 1. In this part, you will hear 8 short announcements or instructions. There is 1 question for each announcement or instruction. For each question, choose the right answer A, B, C, or D. Then on the answer sheet, find the number of the question and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer that you have chosen. Now, let's listen to an example. On the recording, you will hear, "Today I'm going to give you some advice about record keeping. Keeping accurate records is very important because if a patient is unhappy about his treatment, he may want to make a complaint to the surgeon. These records will help us to make a case. Always write your name, the date, and the time on all the records. Don't use pencil or colored pens. Use black ink. If you make a mistake, just cross it out with a single line. Don't use correction fluid. Don't try to file the records away yourself, or they may get lost. Put them in the box here. The administration manager will make sure they are filed away correctly." On the test book, you will read, "What does the woman tell her colleagues to do with the records? A. File them away. B. Give them to the administration manager. C. Put them in a box. D. Give them to the patient." The correct answer is C. Put them in a box. Now let's begin with the first question. 1. Before we enter the paint production area, let me tell you some of the safety precautions and procedures. For your own safety, smoking is not allowed. Furthermore, you are required to wear safety goggles at all times. While it's highly unlikely that your hair or clothing will come in contact with our chemicals and paints, smocks and head coverings are available for all of you. We'll go through these entrances and into the facility as a group. I'll give you some information at the workstations we visit because it is so loud in there. I prefer you keep your questions until after we are through the area. 2. Good afternoon, and welcome to the 6.54 service to London, calling at Nottingham, Leicester, Bedford, and Luton. I'd like to apologize for our late running, which is currently 18 minutes behind schedule. This was due to a signal failure. However, we are confident that we will be able to make up for this lost time and arrive in London on schedule. There is a buffet service towards the rear of the train in coach C, serving hot and cold drinks and snacks. Coach D is a quiet zone, so please keep conversation levels down and make sure any music that you are listening to on headphones is turned down. 3. Good morning. Welcome to Fado Historic Farm. My name is Anna, and I'll be leading the tour today. The magnificent farm you're about to see was founded in 1852 by Mr. Pete Grundy, who was a vegetable farmer. Later, his family sold the farm to the Fado Produce Company, which went out of business in 1960. The farm was turned into this living history museum. In a moment, we'll be leaving the garden and start heading into the farmhouse. 4. Are you taking advantage of the different money-saving benefits available for small business owners? If not, you could be wasting thousands of dollars that could be going into your savings account. Whether you are a one-person operation, corporation, or a partnership, you'll find the tax tips for small business owners workshops of great value. Registration for this course is on Friday morning. Hurry! Seats are limited. Don't forget, you can save a lot of money. 5. Attention passengers for flight 1170 to Incheon, Korea. The plane has arrived, but we are currently expecting a departure delay of an hour and 30 minutes due to the heavy rain here in Seattle. We'll notify you of any further changes in the departure time, but right now, we plan to start boarding passengers in about 45 minutes. Please come into the ticket counter if you are catching a connecting flight. We apologize for any inconvenience this delay may cause, and we truly appreciate your patience. Thank you. 6. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you all to our 15th annual Conference of Traffic Signs and Signals. It's nice to see so many people here. Let me give you the agenda for today. For the first hour, we will hear from our Managing Director, Finance Manager, and our CEO. Then we'll break for half an hour at 11 o'clock for tea and coffee. Then we'll meet again for a fascinating lecture about the future of road travel. Lunch will be served at 12:30 in the Angel Room. Go out of the hall, turn right, go down 2 levels, and the Angel Room is on your right. 7. First, I'd like to tell you briefly about the library. The ground floor is a social area where you can meet for discussions, and there are plenty of computers to use. The information desk is over there near the stairs. The photocopies area are at the rear. The books are on the 2 upper floors. Arts subjects are on the first floor and science subjects are on the second. Journals and periodicals are kept in the basement. There are also 3 small meeting rooms downstairs. You can book these out for no charge. You just need to sign up on the timetable on the door. They aren't locked. You can go straight in. 8. Well, it's great to see you, George. I hope you enjoy working for us here. Now, let me brief you on what we have to do this morning. First, your hours. You will do an 8-hour day. but you can start anytime between 7 and 9:30. So you can organize your own hours and leave early if you want. This morning, I'd like you to read some health and safety information on the computer. You'll need to complete a quiz on the computer if you've read it. Later on, I'll give you a tour of the building. Part 2. In this part, you will hear 3 conversations. The conversations will not be repeated. There are 4 questions for each conversation. For each question, choose the correct answer A, B, C, or D. Questions 9 to 12 refer to the following conversation. Listen to a conversation between a professor and a student.
Hello, Professor Denton. Are you free for a moment? Could I have a word with you?
Come in, Michael. Of course I have some time. These are my office hours, and this is the right time for you to come and ask your questions. Now, how can I help you?
Well, I have a quick question for you about the homework assignment for tomorrow. I thought the assignment was to answer the first 3 questions at the top of page 67 in the text. But when I looked, there weren't any questions there. I'm confused.
The assignment was to answer the first 3 questions at the top of page 76, not 67.
Oh, now I understand. I'm glad I came in to check. Thanks for your help.
No problem. See you tomorrow. Question 13 to 16 refer to the following conversation. Listen to a conversation on a university campus.
You seem to know the way around campus. Have you been here long?
I'm a senior literature major. I'll be graduating next June.
Your major is literature. Mine is too. But I'm just beginning my work as my major. I just transferred to this university from a junior college. Perhaps you could tell me about the courses you've got to take for a literature major.
Well, for a literature major, you need to take 8 courses, 3 required courses, and 5 electives. First, you have to take Survey of World Literature Parts 1 and 2. This is really 2 courses, and it'll take 2 semesters, and it's required for all literature majors. The other course required for all literature majors is Introduction to Literary Analysis.
You mean, if I want to specialize in American literature, I still must take 2 semesters of world literature?
Yes, because the 2 semesters are required for all literature majors.
But I only want to study American literature.
At least you can take all of your 5 elective courses in the area that you want.
That's what I'll do then.
Questions 17 to 20 refer to the following conversation. Listen to a conversation between 2 friends. Wasn't that a fascinating lecture on dolphins? I didn't know that dolphins traveled in such large groups or were able to communicate with other members of their group with those whistle-like sounds.
And they also use clicks as a sort of sonar.
I really couldn't understand that part of the lecture. You could?
Yes, the dolphins use clicks to identify objects in the water. They can even identify tiny objects more than 100 meters away using these clicks. Scientists believe that a dolphin may even have a sonar-like image in its brain of a distant object so that it can identify the object long before the dolphin can actually see the object.
So the dolphins use these clicks mostly to identify objects in the water?
I think so. And they have considerably more ability to do this than humans do.
It is hard to believe that, in addition to these sonar clicks, dolphins are actually learning some human language.
Yes, I believe that the lecturer said that some dolphins had already learned around 50 human commands, and that those dolphins were able to understand not only individual words, but words clustered together in sentences.
Dolphins must certainly be amazing animals to do all of that.
I'm sure they are, and we're only just beginning to find out how intelligent they are.
Part 3. In this part, you will hear 3 talks or lectures. The talks or lectures will not be repeated. There are 5 questions for each talk or lecture. For each question, choose the right answer, A, B, C, or D. Questions 21 to 25 refer to the following lecture. Listen to a talk in an art class. The instructor is talking about pigments. Whether you're working with oil, tempera, or watercolor, it's the pigment that gives the paint its color. A pigment can either be mixed with another material or applied over its surface in a thin layer. When a pigment is mixed or ground in a liquid vehicle to form paint, it does not dissolve but remains suspended in the liquid. A paint pigment should be a smooth, finely divided powder. It should withstand the action of sunlight without changing color. A pigment should not exert a harmful chemical reaction upon the medium or upon other color pigments it is mixed with. Generally, pigments are classified according to their origin, either natural or synthetic. Natural inorganic pigments, also known as mineral pigments, include the native earths, such as ochre, yellow iron oxide, and raw umber, brown iron oxide. Natural organic pigments come from vegetable and animal sources. Some examples are indigo, from the indigo plant, and Tyrian purple, the imperial purple the Romans prepared from a shellfish native to the Mediterranean. Today, many pigments are synthetic varieties of traditional inorganic and organic pigments. Synthetic organic pigments provide colors of unmatched intensity and tinting strength. The synthetic counterparts of the yellow and red earths are more brilliant and, if well prepared, are superior in all other respects to the native products. Inorganic synthetic colors, made with the aid of a strong heat, are generally the most permanent for all used. In contrast, pigments from natural sources are less permanent than the average synthetic color. Questions 26 to 30 refer to the following professor's talk. Listen to a talk in an earth science class. The professor is talking about the tsunami. The term tidal wave is often inaccurately used for a tsunami. Tsunamis have nothing to do with the action of tides. A more accurate term is seismic sea wave. There has to be a disturbance of the Earth's crust to produce a tsunami. Large earthquakes with epicenters under or near the ocean are the cause of most tsunamis. Volcanic eruptions and undersea landslides are also responsible, but less accompanied by movements of the ocean floor. Their effects are usually localized. Possibly that was true about the eruption of Krakatoa in 1883. A tsunami was responsible for most of the deaths caused by Krakatoa, yet this tsunami did not sink any ships. It did wash away several coastal villages and killed more than 36,000 people. Tsunamis work in complex ways. Some pounce on coastal settlements like large breakers. Others produce a gentle wave that floats buildings off their foundations. But then, a violent backwash may sweep buildings and people out to the sea. The tsunami that wrecked Hilo, Hawaii in 1946 was so forceful it folded parking meters. It caused needless deaths when people returned to save their belongings and got caught between waves. The deeper the water, the lower the tsunamis and the faster it moves. In the open ocean, it travels about 700 kilometers per hour, but being sometimes no more than a meter in height, a tsunami often passes a ship unnoticed. This is what happened in 1896 during a catastrophic tsunami in Japan, which was the result of an undersea earthquake. Thousands of people were drowned on shore, while fishermen out at sea didn't notice the waves passing beneath their boats. But when they went home, they found their villages destroyed. Questions 27 to 35 refer to the following lecture. Listen to a lecture in a science class. The professor is talking about 3 Mile Island. Today, I'll be talking about an accident at a nuclear power plant. The accident I'll be discussing is the one that occurred in 3 Mile Island in 1979. By the end of the lecture, you should understand what factors contributed to the accident here. You can see 3 Mile Island in this photograph. The nuclear reactor at 3 Mile Island is in the middle of a river in the state of Pennsylvania. This nuclear reactor has 2 PWRs, which means that it has 2 pressurized water reactors. The problem that occurred in 1979 was in the number 2 pressurized water reactor. Now, we're going to discuss what happened in the number 2 reactor at 3 Mile Island. The important thing to understand about the accident was that there was a series of problems rather than a single problem. The series of problems occurred in the water cooling system. The initial problem was that a cooling system valve stuck open and the cooling water ran out. Unfortunately, the problem did not end with the cooling valve stuck open because operators misinterpreted the instrument readings. They knew there was a problem. They thought the cooling system had too much water rather than too little. Because they thought that there was too much water, they shut off the emergency cooling water. As a result, there was no water to cool the nuclear reactor. There wasn't a complete nuclear meltdown when the emergency cooling water was turned off, but there was a partial nuclear meltdown. A nuclear meltdown would exist if the uranium in the fuel core melted completely. In this situation, heat built up in the fuel core until the uranium began to melt, but it didn't melt down completely. I hope you can understand the series of events that led to the problem at 3 Mile Island. It all started with a stuck valve in the cooling system and was exacerbated by the misinterpreted reading and the improper shutdown of the emergency cooling system. Fortunately, the meltdown did not occur and was only partial and not complete. Part 1. In this section of the test, you will have an opportunity to demonstrate your ability to understand conversations and talks in English. There are 3 parts in this section with special directions for each part. Answer all the questions on the basis of what is stated or implied by the speakers in the recording. There will be time for you to read the instructions, and you will have a chance to check your work. The recording will be played once only. Time allowance, about 40 minutes, including 5 minutes to transfer your answers to your answer sheet. Part 1. In this part, you will hear 8 short announcements or instructions. There is 1 question for each announcement or instruction. For each question, choose the right answer, A, B, C, or D. Then, on the answer sheet, Find the number of the question and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer that you have chosen. Now, let's listen to an example. On the recording, you will hear. Today, I'm going to give you some advice about record keeping. Keeping accurate records is very important because if a patient is unhappy about his treatment, he may want to make a complaint to the surgeon. These records will keep us make a case. Always write your name, the date, and the time on all the records. Don't use pencil or colored pens. Use black ink. If you make a mistake, just cross it out with a single line. Don't use correction fluid. Don't try to file the records away yourself, or they may get lost. Put them in this box here. The administration manager will make sure they are filed away correctly. On the test book, you will read, what does the woman tell her colleagues to do with the records? A. File them away. B. Give them to the administration manager. C. Put them in a box. D. Give them to the patient. The correct answer is C. Put them in a box. Now, let's begin with the first question. 1. If the customer brings an item of clothing they would like to return for exchange or refund, the first thing you do is examine it to make sure the customer did not wear the clothing. If they did, then they can't return it. Remember, nothing can be returned without an original store receipt. We don't accept photocopied receipts or credit card invoices. 2. Do you want to get free electricity and earn money at the same time? We at PVLEC would like to offer you a great deal. Install photovoltaic panels on your roof and you can generate your own electricity from the sun. You will save money on your electricity bills and you can sell any electricity you don't use back to your electricity supplier. If that isn't a great enough deal, you'll also get a tax-free payment from the government, simply as a thank you for generating carbon-free energy. Call PVLEC now on 0800-477-8599 for a free survey to determine which size unit is suitable for your home. 3. And now for the weather. Today it will be another warm, dry day, but it won't be as sunny as yesterday. Most areas of the region will be overcast, but temperatures will be high, around 70 degrees with some light breezes on the coast. Unfortunately, this spell isn't going to last, I'm afraid. Tomorrow, a band of rain is going to creep in from the southwest, and it's going to feel a lot colder. 4. Next week, Sammy Alterner, the owner of Lions football team and the CEO of Fine Attractions, is expected to announce the location for his proposed $5 million, 10,000-seat arena. There are 4 options for the sports arena location, including 2 in the downtown, he says. The purpose of the facility is to have a stadium that has been built for his football team, but to host large concerts. Construction should begin after 2 months. 5. Welcome to the concert hall of the Museum of Fine Arts under the opening of the 4th series of the Arts and History series. The series is an annual program featuring special exhibits, lectures, concerts, and films. Tonight, the museum is very pleased to host the world-renowned Chamber Music Society. In this, the first of a 6-concert series, the Music Society will perform an all-Beethoven concert. There will be refreshments sold during the 20-minute intermission in the theater lobby. Enjoy the concert, everyone. 6. Representatives from Quick Auto Fix, the world's largest automobile parts company, met at the Parker Hotel tonight to begin a week-long company meeting. Employees came from around the world to attend the convention. The event, held once every 2 years, celebrated another year of success. Quick Auto Fix began as a small auto repair shop 30 years ago and has grown rapidly ever since. 7. Welcome to the Western Education Conference. This morning from 11 a.m. till noon, there will be an informative session on teaching styles for young learners. Lunch will be from noon until 1:30 p.m. in the hotel dining room. Then, this afternoon, you can choose between 2 exciting seminars from 1:30 to 4 p.m. One is titled Building Students' Confidence and will be held in this room, and the other, Improving Students' Math Skills, will take place across the hall. At 4 o'clock, the auditorium will open, and you can visit the exhibitors' booths at that time. Enjoy the conference! 8. Patson Photochemicals and Realtors. We are the new type of color film developer. We are about to start using it now, so I will explain how to handle this liquid safely. First of all, remember, wear the safety goggles and gloves, and you should wear the lab coat as well. As I said, it's a liquid developer, and it doesn't require refrigeration. We'll keep it in lab number 1 next to the photographic paper. Please don't store it in the storage cabinet with the other chemicals, because the film could be potentially dangerous. If you're working in one of the dark rooms, always remember to use the exhausted vent. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask. Part 2. In this part, you will hear 3 conversations. The conversations will not be repeated. There are 4 questions for each conversation. For each question, choose the correct answer A, B, C, or D. Questions 9 to 12 refer to the following conversation. Listen to a conversation about a part-time job.
I'm looking for a part-time job on campus.
Then you've come to the right place. The Campus Employment Office is here just to help students like you find jobs on campus.
I'm glad to hear that because I really need to start earning some money.
Let me ask you some questions to help determine what kind of job would be best. First of all, how many hours a week do you want to work?
I need to work at least 10 hours a week, and I don't think I can handle more than 20 hours with all the courses I'm taking.
And when are you free to work?
All of my classes are in the morning, so I can work every weekday from noon on. And of course I wouldn't mind working on the weekends.
I'll try to match you up with one of our on-campus student jobs. Please fill out this form with some additional information about your skills and leave the form with me today. Then you can call me back tomorrow and maybe I'll have some news for you.
Thanks for your help.
Questions 13 to 16 refer to the following conversation. Listen to a conversation between 2 friends. Hi, Jack. It's good to see you again. Are you ready to get down to business again after spring break?
Not really, but I guess I don't really have too much choice, do I? And it's going to be particularly hard to get back to work since I just had the most fantastic vacation ever.
Really? What did you do?
I went kayaking on the Klamath River.
Kayaking?
Yes, you know what a kayak is, don't you? It's a long, narrow boat, the kind first used by the Eskimos. It's quite popular now on whitewater rivers.
Oh, I know what a kayak is. I was just surprised that you would take a trip like that. Weren't you scared?
At first I was, but after I learned some techniques for maneuvering the kayak, it wasn't so bad. We didn't start out on the river. We had 3 whole days of instruction in a shallow pool first. Then, when we finally got out on the river, I felt ready for it.
Did you spend nights camping outside on the ground? That alone would make the trip unappealing to me.
Oh no, the accommodations were fantastic. Each person on the trip had a private cabin, and the facilities included a hot tub, a lodge where you could have a drink and relax, and a top-notch cafeteria with great food.
Now that part of the trip sounds good to me. But I don't think I'd like the part that involves riding through rough water in a small kayak.
Oh, you should try it. I know you'd like it. I'm going to do it again myself as soon as I can afford to spend the time and the money.
Well, better you than me. Questions 17 to 20 refer to the following conversation. Listen to a conversation between two classmates.
Did you read the article that the professor assigned for tomorrow's class? It was really interesting.
No, not yet. What was it about?
It was about pollution, specifically one kind of pollution, called acid rain.
Why is it called acid rain?
It's called acid rain because the rain or some other kind of precipitation has been polluted with acid.
Where does the acid come from?
From cars or factories, anything that burns coal or oil. These are made up mostly of sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide, which react with water vapor to form sulfuric acid or nitric acid.
You mean that when coal or oil is burned, acid gets formed? And when it rains or snows, the acids fall back on Earth?
Exactly. That's why it's so dangerous. Acid rain has been falling over areas of Northern America and Northern Europe, and if this isn't checked, the effect on the water supply and plant and animal life could be disastrous.
This is something important. I really need to read that article. Part 3. In this part, you will hear 3 talks or lectures. The talks or lectures will not be repeated. There are 5 questions for each talk or lecture. For each question, choose the right answer A, B, C, or D. Questions 21 to 25 refer to the following lecture. Listen to a lecture given by a professor. In yesterday's class, we discussed the volcanoes located in the area known as the Ring of Fire, an area which basically encircles the Pacific and includes the United States' Mount St. Helens, as well as Japan's Mount Fuji and Argentina's Aconcagua, the highest mountain in the Western Hemisphere. Most of the world's approximately 500 active volcanoes are located along the Ring of Fire, and the eruptions that take place there are among the most violent in the world. Today, we are going to discuss the volcanoes of Hawaii, which are quite different from the volcanoes in the Ring of Fire. Hawaiian volcanoes are not located along the Ring of Fire and are therefore not caused by the movement of the Earth's plates against each other. Instead, Hawaii is located in the middle of the Ring of Fire, above a massive plate rather than where 2 plates meet. The result is that Hawaiian volcanoes are much gentler than those in the Ring of Fire. Hawaiian volcanoes have much less gas in them, which causes less explosive eruptions, and the lava in Hawaiian volcanoes is thinner, which result in mounds that are long and low rather than high and steep because the lava flows farther and builds mounds gradually with long, low slopes. Mauna Loa, the name of one of Hawaii's most famous volcanoes, actually means long mountain. Question 26 to 30 refer to the following lecture. Listen to a lecture in a botany class. The professor is talking about conifers. Today, I'll be talking about conifers, which are the type of trees, such as pines, that have cones instead of colorful flowers. About a third of the world's trees are conifers, and the vast majority of conifers are found in the great conifer forests of North America and Siberia. Both the oldest and the biggest trees in the world belong to the conifer family. The oldest known living tree is a 4,000-year-old Bristol cone pine, which is located in California. The giant redwoods, which are also found in California, are the largest trees. They can be several hundred feet tall and weigh as much as 2,000 tons. An interesting note about the giant redwoods is that even though the trees are so large, they have relatively small cones. What is true of most, but not all conifers, is that they are evergreens with needle-like leaves. The needle-like shape to tree leaves evolved as a reaction to drought. When compared with a flat leaf, a needle presents a much smaller surface area, which decreases the amount of water lost through the leaves. Because most conifers are evergreens, they lose and replace their needles throughout the year, rather than shedding all their leaves in one season as deciduous trees do. Questions 31 to 35 refer to the following lecture. Listen to a lecture in an astronomy class. The professor is talking about Venus. Today we'll be discussing the planet Venus, which is the second planet in our solar system and is almost the same size as our Earth, which is the fifth largest planet in the solar system. The planet Venus is easily visible in the sky from Earth, although not always as a complete globe. It goes through phases, just like the moon. Sometimes it's fully visible, like a full moon. Sometimes it's half visible, and sometimes it is only a small crescent. It's actually at its brightest when it's a crescent. Venus is a very hot planet. The temperature there can reach almost 500 degrees centigrade, or 900 degrees Fahrenheit. It's so hot on Venus for two primary reasons. First, it's hot because of its atmosphere. Its atmosphere is almost entirely carbon dioxide, which holds in the heat from the sun extremely well. Venus is also well known for the clouds that cover it. As you know, Venus is visible to us on Earth, but it's not actually the planet we see. It's the clouds. The surface of Venus can't be seen even with a telescope because of the clouds that surround the planet. The clouds on Venus are very different from the clouds on Earth. Earth's clouds are made of water vapor, but on Venus there is no water. The clouds on Venus are actually made of sulfuric acid. These clouds help to contribute to the brightness of Venus in our sky. When Venus appears to shine so brightly, it's because the light of the sun is reflecting off Venus's clouds of sulfuric acid. Part 1. In this section of the test, you will have an opportunity to demonstrate your ability to understand conversations and talks in English. There are 3 parts in this section, with special directions for each part. Answer all the questions on the basis of what is stated or implied by the speakers in the recording. There will be time for you to read the instructions, and you will have a chance to check your work. The recording will be played once only. Time allowance: about 40 minutes, including 5 minutes to transfer your answers to your answer sheet. Part 1. In this part, you will hear 8 short announcements or instructions. There is one question for each announcement or instruction. For each question, choose the right answer A, B, C, or D. Then on the answer sheet, find the number of the question and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer that you have chosen. Now, let's listen to an example. On the recording, you will hear, "The new addition to the Henning IT Library is going to officially open next week at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. This much-anticipated section of the library has been touted by the press and business community in that it will provide much-needed information to IT firms, investors, and government officials." On the test book, you will read, "What does the woman tell her colleagues to do with the records?" A. To announce the move of the library. B. To collect donations to buy new books. C. To introduce a new section of the library. D. To notify people of the new hours of the library. The correct answer is C. To introduce a new section of the library. Now, let's begin with the first question. 1.
Hello, I'm Tom Longings, your guide for today's hike. We'll begin here with a pretty steep climb, so hopefully you're all wearing comfortable shoes and clothes. We'll stop at several points along the way to observe the deer, squirrels, and tall trees which are found in this region. About halfway through, we'll stop at Evergreen Tree to eat lunch and enjoy the view. On our way down, we'll follow the path that will take us around to the Messy Fall. If you have any questions about any of the trail markers, or if you would like to rest, just let me know.
2. You have reached House Electrics. If you are a current customer, please state your name and your telephone number clearly and slowly. Press 1 if you'd like to be connected to our 24-hour emergency repair service. Our customer service representatives are available from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m., 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, to respond to billing questions and other concerns. To choose House Electrics as your electric company, please stay on the line and a sales representative will be with you. 3. Hi, Ms. Fang. My name is Lena Miller. I'm with the International Human Resources Department. I've received your resume and would like to have an interview to talk to you about the manager's position. Information about wages and treatment will be given after you pass the interview. I'll be away from my desk for most of the day, so please send me an email with information of when you'll be available to meet. I'll get back to you with the time that works best for me. Thank you. 4. Good afternoon. If you are on the coach, you already know that it's a rough commute today. The National Weather Agency has issued a road travel warning for the area. Heavy snow and winds are expected to last until early evening. Traffic on the highway is stuck for several kilometers, with a delay of about 30 minutes. The highway police advise care on all roads and recommend using public buses and trains. Right now, it is 12:30. Stay tuned on this station for weather forecast every hour from now on. 5. XT procedure is very simple. First, you get the proper form in a box down from the supply room. When you filled out a form and the box is ready, you go to the shipping office to have the package certified. At that time, the office manager will approve all the paperwork. Then, You take the box to the clerk who will mail the package. Oh, and make sure you keep the carbon copy of the shipping form and file them under outgoing. 6. Hi, Mr. Jackie. This is Shell Jung returning your call. I've just got back to my office. It's about 4 o'clock on Tuesday. Yes, I would be interested in speaking at the conference you're organizing. Did you say it will be held in Paris? I know you said you wanted me to speak about the outcome of marketing strategy, but could you give me some details about the type of presentation you want? I'll be on vacation in LA next week, so if you could call me back this week, I would appreciate it. 7. Welcome. As you know, the search for a new vice president for the International Marketing Department will begin soon. All of you who are company managers were invited to this meeting because you are eligible for this position. The position will first be posted internally for 4 weeks. If a suitable candidate is not found within our company, the position will be posted externally on the website and in the local newspaper. We hope to have a new vice president hired in less than 3 months. We look forward to seeing all of your applications within the next month. 8. Good afternoon, everyone. We are excited about the new magazine that will be published here at the Art Museum. We plan to have the first issue out within 3 months. That's August. As you know, we are looking for all of you to submit articles and ideas. We need the effort from everyone at the museum. In addition, we hired 2 people to staff the magazine, a marketing specialist, a photographer, and now the most important member of that staff, the editor. Please join me in welcoming Steve Webster. Part 2. In this part, you will hear 3 conversations. The conversations will not be repeated. There are 4 questions for each conversation. For each question, choose the correct answer, A, B, C, or D. Questions 9 to 12 refer to the following conversation. Listen to a conversation between the man and the woman.
Can you tell me how to get to the music building from here? I have a lecture to attend there.
Oh, are you new to campus?
Yes, I got here last night.
Well, to get to the music building, you have 2 choices. If you want to go right now, you can walk straight down the street until you're past the Commons, and then turn right. The music building will be straight ahead.
How long will it take to get there?
About 20 minutes.
What's my other choice?
If you don't mind waiting around for a while, you can take the shuttle bus. The bus only takes about 5 minutes to get there.
But I have to wait for the bus?
That's right.
Well, I guess I might as well walk.
Questions 13 to 16 refer to the following conversation. Listen to a conversation between 2 friends.
How was your trip to Wyoming last summer?
It was fantastic. Some of the most beautiful scenery in the country is in Wyoming.
Where did you go in Wyoming?
We drove to Delhi's Tower National Monument, and we spent a few days in Laramie. But we spent most of our vacation in Yellowstone National Park.
You went to Yellowstone? I wish I could have gone. I've heard that Yellowstone is just magnificent.
It's the oldest and largest national park in the United States, and it's got spectacular waterfalls, hot springs, and geysers.
Did you see Old Faithful?
Of course we saw Old Faithful. It's the best known of the geysers there. We couldn't visit Yellowstone without seeing the Old Faithful.
Do you think you'll be taking another vacation in Yellowstone again? If you do, I'd like to go next time.
Questions 17 to 20 refer to the following conversation. Listen to a conversation between two classmates.
How are you going to spend this year's Thanksgiving vacation?
I'm going to spend it with my family. We celebrate very traditionally. We go to my grandparents' house and have a big Thanksgiving dinner. It's really the only time in the year that my whole family gets together.
In my family, we just have a big feast too. We don't really stop and think about how Thanksgiving Day developed, how new colonists in Massachusetts had a 3-day feast to give thanks for surviving the first terrible winter and for gathering their first corn harvest the following year.
Did you know that the original Thanksgiving Day was celebrated in July?
No, I thought Thanksgiving had always been in November.
The first Thanksgiving was celebrated on July 30, 1623. After that, Thanksgiving was celebrated at many different times. It wasn't until 1863 that Abraham Lincoln declared the last Thursday in November as a day of Thanksgiving, and this holiday has been celebrated in November ever since. Part 3. In this part, you will hear 3 talks or lectures. The talks or lectures will not be repeated. There are 5 questions for each talk or lecture. For each question, choose the right answer, A, B, C, or D. Questions 21 to 25 refer to the following talk. Listen to a career counselor about 2 different types of employees.
Are you going to be more effective and happy as a specialist or as a generalist? Do you find real satisfaction in the precision, order, and system of a clearly laid out job? Or are you one of those people who tend to grow impatient with anything that looks like a routine job? There are a great many careers in which the emphasis is on specialization. You find these careers in engineering and in accounting, in production, in statistical work, and in teaching. But there is an increasing demand for people who are able to take in a great area at a glance. There is, in other words, a demand for people who are capable of seeing the forest rather than the trees, of making overall judgments. And these generalists are particularly needed for administrative positions, where it is their job to see that other people, to organize other people's work, to initiate it and appraise it. Specialists understand one field. Their concern is with technique, tools, and media. They are trained people, and their educational background is technical or professional. Generalists, and especially administrators, deal with people. Their concern is with leadership, with planning, with direction, and with coordination. They are educated people, and the humanities are their strongest foundation. Any organization needs both kinds of people, although different organizations need them in different ratios. It is your job to find out, during your college years, into which of these 2 job categories you fit, and to plan your career accordingly.
Questions 26 to 30 refer to the following talk. Listen to a talk given by an economics instructor. One of the major problems in our economy is inflation, a situation in which prices are going up faster than wages. Thus, a person has to work more hours to pay for the same items. For example, let's say that this year a loaf of bread costs $1 and the average salary in the United States is $10 per hour. That means a person could earn enough money to buy a loaf of bread in 1/10 of an hour or 6 minutes. Then, halfway through the year, the price of the bread goes up to $1.25. While wages stay the same, that means that a person has to work 1/8 of an hour, 7.5 minutes, to buy the same loaf of bread. Now, let's say that at the end of the year, wages go up to $11 per hour, but the price of the bread goes up to $1.50. Now, a person has to work more than 1/7 of an hour, over 8 minutes, to buy the same loaf of bread. As you can see, if more and more work time is spent earning money to buy loaves of bread, employees will have less money left over to buy other things. Inflation means that the same money buys fewer things, and everybody's standard of living goes down, even if salaries are going up. Some kinds of inflation are worse than others. Moderate inflation does not distort relative prices or income severely. Galloping inflation happens rapidly, say at a rate of 100% or more within a year. And then there is hyperinflation, inflation so severe that people try to get rid of their currency before prices rise further and render the money worthless. Times of hyperinflation are usually characterized by social and political turmoil. Questions 31 to 35 refer to the following lecture. Listen to a lecture in a psychology class. Psychology is a relatively new science. Like other sciences, psychology must be able to state laws. A law is a way of organizing knowledge about something so that we can make predictions. When enough knowledge is gained about a subject, a scientist can state precisely what will happen under certain conditions. We experimental psychologists are interested in developing laws about human behavior so that we'll be able to understand and predict what people do and why they do it. Of course, to develop laws about human behavior, we must assume there's some regularity to it. We can't be psychologists without making the assumption that behavior follows certain patterns. One of the major laws psychologists have discovered is called the law of effect. The law of effect states that whether or not a person will repeat a behavior depends on the effect that behavior has. If an action is rewarded, it's likely to be repeated. If the action is not rewarded, or if it's punished, it's not likely to be repeated. How do psychologists state laws? First, using available knowledge, a psychologist makes a hypothesis about behavior. Then, the psychologist tested the hypothesis through an experiment. But even if the experiment proves the hypothesis was correct, it's not yet a law. It's just the beginning of the work. To arrive at a law that will apply to all humans, many repetitions of the experiment must be conducted under different conditions. Only repeated verification, especially proof that the behavior can be predicted, will result in a law. Part 1. In this section of the test, you will have an opportunity to demonstrate your ability to understand conversations and talks in English. There are 3 parts in this section, with special directions for each part. Answer all the questions on the basis of what is stated or implied by the speakers in the recording. There will be time for you to read the instructions, and you will have a chance to check your work. The recording will be played once only. Time allowance: about 40 minutes, including 5 minutes to transfer your answers to your answer sheet. Part 1. In this part, you will hear 8 short announcements or instructions. There is 1 question for each announcement or instruction. For each question, choose the right answer A, B, C, or D. Then on the answer sheet, find the number of the question and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer that you have chosen. Now, let's listen to an example. On the recording, you will hear: the new addition to the Henning IT Library is going to officially open next week at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. This much-anticipated section of the library has been touted by the press and business community in that it will provide much-needed information to IT firms, investors, and government officials. On the test book, you will read: what does the woman tell her colleagues to do with the records? A. To announce the move of the library. B. To collect donations to buy new books. C. To introduce a new section of the library. D. To notify people of the new hours of the library. The correct answer is C. To introduce a new section of the library. Now, let's begin with the first question. 1. All right, here's some water and bread to get you started. My name's Jenny, and let me start by telling you about our specials this evening. For seafood, we have fresh Dungeness crab for $12.99 and lobster Newton with stuffed prawns for $17.99. Our other specials are T-bone steak with mashed potatoes and gravy for just $11.99 and prime rib with spinach fettuccine for only $13.99. 2. Attention please. This is a special announcement from the main office. There is a visitor's car parked in the fire zone on the east side of campus. It's a blue Yamaha Zephyr, license plate number XYZ701. The owner needs to move his vehicle immediately or it will be towed. We want to remind all visitors that no parking is allowed in the fire zones on the west and east side of the campus. These zones must be kept free at all times for fire trucks and other emergency vehicles. Parking is also in lots on the north and south sides. Metered parking is available on the streets surrounding the school grounds, and there are special handicapped parking spaces in all school parking lots. We appreciate your cooperation in keeping our no parking zones clear. Thank you. 3. Before we begin with our regular agenda, I just wanted to remind you there will be improvements made to the gas service this coming Tuesday. In order for the gas company workers to complete the upgrade safely, we'll have to shut down our boilers for most of the day. This won't affect any of our electrical services, so business operations should be normal. But the cafeteria will be closed, since there won't be any hot water available. If you have any questions, you can call the facilities office at extension 555-5555. 4. Friend Seafood has the freshest seafood in town. The only way to get fresher seafood is to catch it yourself. So friends are going to give you a chance to do just that. Just look for the entry blank in the Friends ad in today's newspaper. You and 5 of your friends could win a deep-sea fishing trip aboard Patchen's fishing boat. The entry deadline is this Monday, so enter now, and in the meantime, come try the seafood we caught for you today. 5. This plant has an excellent safety record, and we want to make sure it stays excellent. We have installed new machinery, so you will all have to take some extra precautions to prevent accidents. First, anyone using these machines must wear plastic safety glasses. They are stored in the equipment closet and are adjustable. For anyone who might need it, there is an eye wash facility by the main exit. Be sure to assist your coworkers if they require help. 6. Welcome to the Great Lake Shiny Dancing Club. If you're here for the ballet class, that's on Wednesday, so please come back then. Before we start, I'd like to remind you of a few things. Only dance shoes, please. Second, we are very grateful to the Great Lake High School for letting us use their gym. So please, help us keep the room clean. Tonight is our monthly introductory night, so if you are an advanced dancer, be prepared to help the newcomers. Okay, everyone find a partner and let's get started. 7. If you will remember, we sent out the request for proposals for development of the new Civic Center on February 29th. As you can see from your summary sheet, we received 14 responses. 12 of them met our initial criteria. What I'd like to do today is focus on eliminating 5 or 6 proposals so that at our April meeting, we can do an in-depth analysis of the rest. Keep in mind that our goal is to select the final proposal by June and have the next project underway by next January. 8. As many of you already know, Scott Brenner will soon be leaving his position as head of the Education Center. Scott has been with us for 5 years and has implemented many changes at the center in that time. Our staff has grown from just 8 to more than 20 teachers, and support staff members and our course offerings have expanded correspondingly. Although he will no longer be working with us directly, we still expect to see him frequently when he begins his new position as Assistant to the Minister of Education. Part 2, Track 11. In this part, you will hear 3 conversations. The conversations will not be repeated. There are 4 questions for each conversation. For each question, choose the correct answer A, B, C, or D. Questions 9 to 12 refer to the following conversation. Listen to a conversation between the man and the woman. Hi, Bob. Your hair looks nice. It's a bit shorter than usual, isn't it?
A bit shorter? I don't think so. It's a lot shorter. When I look in the mirror, I don't even know who is looking back at me.
So you got your haircut, but you didn't get the haircut that you wanted?
This is not even close to the haircut that I wanted. I asked to have hair trimmed just a little bit, and the hairstylist really went to town. When I looked down at the floor, there were piles of hair, my hair, on the floor. I couldn't believe it.
Well, at least your hair will grow back soon.
That's what everyone is saying to me. It'll grow back. But it won't grow fast enough to make me happy.
Maybe after you get used to it, you'll like it a bit more. Questions 13 to 16 refer to the following conversation. Listen to a conversation about a man's great-grandmother.
I talked to my great-grandmother on the phone this morning.
Your great-grandmother? Do you talk with her often?
I try to call her at least once a week. She's a really wonderful woman, and she's over 85 years old. I enjoy talking to her because she's so understanding and because she gives me good advice.
What advice did she have for you today?
She told me to be careful because a big storm is coming.
She said that a big storm is coming? Is she a weather forecaster?
Not exactly. She says that she can feel it in her bones when a storm is coming. I know it sounds funny, but when she feels it in her bones that a storm is coming, she's usually right.
That's not actually so funny. When people get older, the tissue around their joints can become stiff and swollen. Just before a storm, the air pressure often drops, and this drop in air pressure can cause additional pressure and pain in swollen joints. So when your great-grandmother tells you she thinks a storm is coming, she probably has some aching in her joints from the decreasing air pressure.
Then I had better pay more attention to my great-grandmother's weather forecasts.
Questions 17 to 20 refer to the following conversation. Listen to a conversation between two friends. Do you have any plans this weekend?
There's so much to choose from on campus that I'm not sure what I'm going to do.
The football game on Saturday night, and I'm going with a group of friends. Do you want to go with us?
Of course I'd like to go to the football game. It's the biggest game of the season. And it sounds like fun to go with a large group of people.
Good. We'll be meeting at the cafeteria for dinner at 6 o'clock on Saturday night, and then we'll go on to the game together.
That takes care of my plans for Saturday night, but now I need to make a decision about Sunday afternoon. The music department is sponsoring a concert then, and I'd really like to hear that concert. But there's also a play being presented by the drama department that I really wanted to see. It's too bad those two events are at the same time.
You know, if you go to the game on Saturday night and a concert or play on Sunday, that doesn't leave much time for studying.
Oh well, maybe I can do that the weekend after this one.
Part 3. In this part, you will hear 3 talks or lectures. The talks or lectures will not be repeated. There are 5 questions for each talk or lecture. For each question, choose the right answer A, B, C, or D. Questions 21 to 25 refer to the following lecture. Listen to a lecture in an education class. The professor is talking about early teachers. All of you are enrolled in this introductory education course because you want to become teachers. I'd like to introduce this course because you want to become teachers. I'd like to introduce this course with a little information about the life of a teacher that has changed over the past century. Early in the 20th century, the life of a teacher was quite different from what it is now. There were very strict rules that governed every aspect of a teacher's life. The rules were not just about how a teacher could conduct herself in the classroom and on the school grounds. There were also numerous rules that governed just about everything a teacher did. Here are some of the rules. Teachers had to follow strict rules about their appearance. They were sometimes told not to wear colorful clothing, not to dye their hair or wear it loose, and not to wear their skirts above their ankles. Teachers' whereabouts during after-school hours were also strictly regulated. There were rules forbidding teachers to go to bars and to ice cream parlors. There were rules requiring teachers to be at home after 8 o'clock in the evening, and there were rules forbidding them to leave town without permission. Just about any action a teacher wanted to take could be regulated. Teachers could be forbidden to smoke or to drink. They were also sometimes forbidden to spend time with men or to marry if they wanted to remain teachers. Questions 26 to 30 refer to the following professor's talk. Listen to a lecture in a biology class. The lecture is on tropism in plants. Today, I'll be talking about the concept of tropism as it relates to plants. Tropism, for those of you who don't know, refers to a bending of a plant or a part of a plant in response to outside stimulus. There are 3 important kinds of tropism. They are phototropism, geotropism, and hydrotropism. In each of these kinds of tropism, a plant or a part of a plant bends in response to a different kind of outside stimulus. First, we'll discuss phototropism. The outside stimulus in phototropism. The outside stimulus in phototropism is light. When a plant is affected by phototropism, it grows in the direction of a light source such as the sun. The second kind of tropism is geotropism. In geotropism, the outside stimulus is gravity. In a plant affected by geotropism, the affected part of the plant grows directly downward because of the pull of gravity. When a plant is affected by geotropism, it's often the root structure that's affected. The final kind of tropism that I'll discuss today is hydrotropism. When hydrotropism affects a plant, this means that the plant is drawn towards water. A plant under the effect of hydrotropism will grow in the direction of its water source. Questions 31 to 35 refer to the following lecture. Listen to a lecture in history class. The lecture is on the St. Louis Arch. Today we'll look at a structure that is popularly called the St. Louis Arch. We'll be looking at how it was constructed and, more importantly, why it was constructed and what it commemorates. In this photo, you can see the 630-foot high stainless steel arch. It's remarkable for its engineering. It has no inner form. Instead, it is dependent on its 2 hollow legs for support. There are trams inside the legs to take visitors to an observatory at the top of the arch. Most people call it the St. Louis Arch because it is in St. Louis, but its real name is the Jefferson National Expansion Memorial. It's a memorial because it was built in memory of the expansion of the nation beyond St. Louis. It's named after Jefferson because it was under the presidency of Thomas Jefferson that the greatest expansion of the country took place. In 1804, several years after the start of Jefferson's presidency, Lewis and Clark set out from St. Louis to explore new territories to the west. Their expedition was a 4,000-mile trip from St. Louis to the Pacific Northwest and back that lasted a little more than 2 years. In the years following the expedition of Lewis and Clark, thousands of pioneers set off from St. Louis and headed west. It was to honor this period of expansion that the arch was constructed. The arch itself was designed to represent a gateway or a doorway to the west. At the base of the arch, there's a subterranean museum. This museum is named the Museum of Westward Expansion because it honors all the pioneers who headed west from St. Louis. In the middle of the museum is a statue of the president who was responsible for much of this expansion, Thomas Jefferson. Part 1. In this section of the test, you will have an opportunity to demonstrate your ability to understand conversations and talks in English. There are 3 parts in this section, with special directions for each part. Answer all the questions on the basis of what is stated or implied by the speakers in the recording. There will be time for you to read the instructions, and you will have a chance to check your work. The recording will be played once only. Time allowance: about 40 minutes, including 5 minutes to transfer your answers to your answer sheet. Part 1. In this part, you will hear 8 short announcements or instructions. There is 1 question for each announcement or instruction. For each question, choose the right answer A, B, C, or D. Then on the answer sheet, find the number of the question and fill in the space that corresponds to the letter of the answer that you have chosen. Now, let's listen to an example. On the recording, you will hear: the new addition to the Henning IT Library is going to officially open next week at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. This much-anticipated section of the library has been touted by the press and business community in that it will provide much-needed information to IT firms, investors, and government officials. On the test book, you will read: what does the woman tell her colleagues to do with the records? A. To announce the move of the library. B. To collect donations to buy new books. C. To introduce a new section of the library. D. To notify people of the new hours of the library. The correct answer is C. To introduce a new section of the library. Now, let's begin with the first question. 1. This weekend is the opening of a 2-week video exhibit entitled From Barcelona to Sao Paulo. For the next month, the Museum of Techno Art in New York will be featuring contemporary films, such as a short computer animation and a full-length documentary about working women in Madrid. Join other viewers at the museum on Friday for the opening of the exhibit. You don't have to speak Spanish to enjoy these video pieces, as soundtracks are available in other languages. Don't put off your visit. The show moves on to Detroit at the end of the month. 2. Your attention, please. Will visitors with tickets to the 8 p.m. Sky Show, Journey to the Stars, please come to the theater entrance. This show is sold out, but tickets are still available for the 9 o'clock show. Dan Niche and other hands-on science exhibits for all ages are open until 9 o'clock this evening. The gift shop is open until 9:30. And remember, participants in the membership program receive a 10% discount on gift shop purchases. 3. Let's go over the safety precautions we'll take today before we go on our trip down the river. Always wear your life preserver whenever you're in the canoe. Don't stand up in your canoe because it can capsize quite easily. If you do tip over, do not leave your boat. Don't let it float away and don't swim to shore. Now, as soon as you've put on your life jackets and get into your canoes, I'll show you the different ways to maneuver your boat and, of course, how to hold your paddles. 4. Maybe it's time for a new gentle night mattress. Research shows you'll sleep 20% more deeply on a supported mattress. But with over 40 brands to choose from, how can you decide? Well, Gentle Night is designed by orthopedic surgeons. But don't take our word for it. Test one out for yourself. We are so sure you'll love it that we will let you try it for a week. And if you're not satisfied, we will give you a full refund. Visit your Gentle Night dealer today to check out our selection. It is offered until May 1st only. 5. This is Dr. Julie Shedit with today's Medical Minute. Winter's almost here, and it's time to protect yourself against the flu. How can you reduce your chances of getting the flu? Keep your hands away from your nose, eyes, and mouth in order to prevent the spread of germs. Wash your hands frequently, and don't forget to cover your mouth when you sneeze or cough. Also, remember to eat a nutritious, well-balanced diet in order to build up your body's immune system. Stay tuned because after this commercial break, I'll give you some exercise tip for the coming month. 6. Thank you for calling Amazing Tickets. Our office hours are Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Sunday, noon to 5 p.m. We have tickets for Nick Sawyer, November 22nd and 23rd at the LA Sports Arena, starting at $37.50, and also tickets for the Russian Ballet at the Peter Chandler Pavilion on December 12th, 13th, and 14th. Ticket prices for the ballet range from a low of $50 up to $150. We're sorry, but we have no more tickets for the Lakers-Celtics basketball game on November 28th. Thank you for calling Amazing Tickets. For more information, please call during our normal business hours. 7. This is Nancy Deos, the manager of May Boutiques. I ordered 50 hats from you in October, but they didn't arrive until November 26th. It's unlikely that I will be able to sell them all as I planned during this holiday season. So I will need to return half of these hats, unless you will offer me a discount. Then I would be able to sell them at a special price during our annual sale in January. Let me know if this is possible. Otherwise, I will prepare the shipment tomorrow. 8. Attention passengers on Northeast Airways Flight 888 to Philadelphia. The plane's departure from Los Angeles has been delayed 2 hours due to heavy fog. The plane is not expected to arrive here in Chicago until 4:45 p.m. Passengers who are worried about missing overseas connections in Philadelphia should contact a Northeast Airways representative for more information. Once again, Northeast Airways Flight 888 bound for Philadelphia has been delayed. It is now scheduled to depart Chicago at 5:30 p.m. Part 2. In this part, you will hear 3 conversations. The conversations will not be repeated. There are 4 questions for each conversation. For each question, choose the correct answer, A, B, C, or D. Questions 9 to 12 refer to the following conversation. Listen to a conversation between the man and the woman.
The men of the Northwood tribes were the hunters. The hunting season began in the fall and continued until midwinter. These expeditions frequently took the hunters away from the village for long periods of time. Moose, deer, beaver, bear, and elk were the animals sought. Large deer drives were common, and small animals were taken with snares or the bow and arrow.
Did the women ever go hunting with the men?
The women often accompanied their husbands on hunting parties. Their job was to take charge of the camps.
Do you mean they just cooked for the men? I thought the Native Americans had more of a system of equality.
Overall, men and women shared the labor. On hunting expeditions, women basically supported the men, whose job was to procure the game. On the other hand, women controlled other realms of life. For example, women managed all of the agricultural operations. Also, a woman headed each clan, and these women were respected for their role as keepers of the clan.
Questions 13 to 16 refer to the following conversation. Listen to a conversation between the woman and the man. Have you ever thought about all the tons of garbage that's out in space circling the Earth?
Tons of garbage that's out in space circling the Earth? What do you mean?
I saw a television program about it last night, and according to the program, there is about 3,000 tons of metal out there in space, traveling at speeds around 17,000 miles per hour.
Where did all this garbage come from?
Well, it comes from all those space missions that have gone up since 1957. Every time a rocket ship goes up into space, it leaves a lot behind, and this stuff goes into orbit around the Earth. Booster rockets, solar panels, remnants of satellites, and even nuclear reactors.
Isn't it dangerous to have all this stuff out there?
Some space scientists are worried about possible collisions between this orbiting junk and spaceships, particularly manned spacecrafts. However, so far, there haven't been any such accidents.
Well, I hope that they're going to do something about this, both for the sake of safety and for the sake of the environment.
Me too. I know that right now the problem is being studied by numerous scientists. Hopefully, they'll be able to find solutions. They'll be able to find solutions before the problem gets too much worse. Questions 17 to 20 refer to the following conversation. Listen to a conversation between 2 students. Am I ever glad to see you? We don't have much time left before our presentation. Only the rest of this week. Let's talk about what we still need to do.
Do we have that much left to do? I was under the impression we're just about ready. I've got all my data, the graphs, and photos of the mountain.
We'd better go over what we have.
Oh, sure, but I have hockey practice in half an hour.
This won't take long, I hope. Now, I'll do the introduction. First, I'll talk about how the geologists in Volcano Watch detected another tiny earthquake on Stone Peak 2 weeks ago. The quake registered only 0.8, but they think it could be part of a series of small quakes that precede an eruption. Then, I'll give the history of the eruptions in that area.
How far are you going to go back?
2,000 years. That's the last time Stone Peak erupted. I won't go over every little eruption, just the 6 or 7 major ones in the range. Then, I guess at that point I'll turn it over to you.
And I'll show my graphs. No, maybe the pictures first. At least this one of the bulges. George Davidson at the observatory gave me all these photographs. I still have to make slides out of them, and of my graphs too. Nuts, that won't take long. Aren't they awesome? Some are really good shots of the mountain. You can really see how much the bulge has grown.
It's grown? How much? A few inches?
A few inches a year for the past 6 years. The bulge is forming because a chamber of magma below the surface is growing. Earth's crust is being the surface that is growing. Earth's crust is being bent and bent. A few inches a year is a lot of bending, and sooner or later, it'll start to break open. Then there'll be a show. First I'll show them, first the color picture, then the graphs showing the eruptions over the past 6 years, and then the series of black and white photos show the bulge. It shows up better in black and white.
Then, when you're through with the slides, we should probably allow enough time for questions.
Yeah, that sounds good. That should about wrap it up. See? We're all set to go.
Part 3. In this part, you will hear 3 talks or lectures. The talks or lectures will not be repeated. There are 5 questions for each talk or lecture. For each question, choose the right answer, A, B, C, or D. Questions 21 to 25 refer to the following lecture. Listen to a lecture in a geology class. The lecture is on the structure of the Earth. Today, I'm going to give you a brief overview of the structure of the Earth. The Earth is made up of a number of layers, from the outside to the inside. The main layers are the crust, the mantle, and the core. Let's look at a diagram of the Earth's main layers. The crust is the thin outer layer, then there is the mantle. And finally, the core, which is divided into the outer core and the inner core. First, let's talk about the crust. The crust is a thin, hard layer of rock. As you can see in the diagram, the crust is quite thin. The crust is about 20 miles thick under land masses. Under the oceans, the crust is even thinner. The crust is only about 4 miles thick under the oceans. Now, let's talk about the mantle. The mantle makes up the greatest part of the Earth. The mantle is about 1,800 miles deep. It's made of stony materials that were created from silicate minerals. The mantle is a huge mass of stony material. Now, we'll look at the core, which actually has 2 distinct parts, the outer core and the inner core. Neither the outer core nor the inner core is as wide as the mantle. The outer core is less than 1,400 miles wide, and the inner core has a radius of 800 miles. The outer core is a layer of liquid metal. It definitely has liquid nickel and iron, and it may have other substances. The outer core is the only liquid layer. The inner core is composed of nickel and iron, as the outer core is. But the inner core is not a liquid layer like the outer core. It is extremely hot at the inner core. But there's also an extreme amount of pressure on the minerals in the inner core that keeps them firm rather than liquid. This is all for our overview of the various layers that make up the Earth. We'll be having a quiz on the material next class, so be prepared. Questions 26 to 30 refer to the following lecture. Listen to a lecture in a film studies class. In the first 2 decades of the 20th century, cinema established itself as a powerful mass medium. Movies were a popular entertainment. Movies were also regarded as high art by the intellectuals of the day. Many people believed that cinema, or film, would be the defining art form of the new century. Even in its earliest years, film was developing its own style, a style that was distinct from that of the theater. But what do we mean when we speak of film style? To put it simply, style is the texture of a film's images and sounds. It's the filmmaker's systematic use of the techniques of the medium. For example, staging, lighting, performance, camera framing, and focus. Editing and sound also contribute to style. A few filmmakers of the silent era were already developing film style, most notably in the editing technique of cutting. Cutting is when the action is broken up into separate shots or pieces of film, and then the shots are recombined to tell the story in a coherent way. Before cutting, the action in films was like it was in the theater. The action took place far away from us, and it was continuous. It wasn't interrupted by any closer views of the actors. Early film critics didn't like films that looked too much like theater. Theater was a well-recognized art form with its own traditions and methods. However, film was something new, and it was an art form that owed its birth to the technology of the moving picture camera. The critics preferred to see stylistic camera work and editing, the techniques that set film apart from the theater. A lot of critics felt that editing was the most important film technique. Cutting, the change from shot to shot, was regarded as the key to film artistry. Another film technique, called cross-cutting, made it possible to tell two stories at the same time. Cross-cutting, it's also called parallel action, involves showing segments from two different sequences, moving back and forth from one to the other. Cross-cutting was used in the 1903 film The Great Train Robbery. The film shows bandits escaping from the scene of their crime, and then it cross-cuts to a scene where the townspeople are dancing at a party, unaware the robbery has taken place. The audience easily understands that the two scenes are going on at the same time. The person who actually receives the credit for inventing most film techniques is D.W. Griffith. While Griffith didn't invent everything about film, actually, he defined and redefined the innovations of other filmmakers. He created movies that critics and audiences recognize as a unique narrative form. This is because he perfected the elements of film grammar and the art of the story film. Instead of having one camera shoot a scene from one position, D.W. Griffith filmed each scene from many angles, and then he pieced together the sequences in the editing room. He used editing to heighten and control the dramatic impact of the scene. He introduced analytical editing, that is, breaking down a scene into shots that show closer views of people's faces or gestures. These loosely framed shots are known as close-ups. The close-up conveys a character's emotions through subtle changes in the eyes, mouth, and brow. After D.W. Griffith, the close-up became a standard tool in the language of film. Questions 30 to 35 refer to the following lecture. Listen to part of the lecture in history class. The agricultural revolution of 10,000 years ago started the great shift from rural to urban living. As human settlements evolved from simple groups of people to larger villages and then to towns and cities, their basic pattern changed. The early rural villages grew naturally. sort of organically, as there were plants or bushes, and buildings were clustered near water sources and around village gardens with tree for shade and pastures for animals. A lot of us yearn to escape to these simpler, more romantic settlements of the past. But there are probably more of us who have a powerful urge to explore new ideas and to build bigger and better structures. We now have super settlements called cities. Our city planners and architects have converted the organic pattern of the village into a geometrically perfect grid. Our natural habitat has been transformed into an expanse of hard, straight surfaces with stone and metal and concrete and glass. Of course, the city is still a wonderful place for stimulation, for opportunity, and for cultural interaction. In fact, you could say the city is our most spectacular creation, and, believe it or not, it has elements of the rural past. In the average North American city, about 1/3 of the surface is given to streets and buildings. The rest is covered by trees and grass. Foresters call it the urban forest, meaning all the trees in city parks, the trees planted along streets and highways, and the trees in people's yards. The extent of this forest is sort of amazing, 2/3 of our urban space. The concept of a tree-lined village green has a long history, but one of North America's first public parks that was sort of created as a unified project was Central Park in New York City. Central Park was designed by landscape architects Olmsted and Voss in the late 19th century. They took their inspiration from the gardens of European estates and the romantic landscape paintings from that period. Central Park was set in a rectangular site covering over 800 acres in the middle of Manhattan Island. By the 19th century, the original forest was long gone. The area had been used as a common pasture for animals, but eventually it deteriorated into a kind of urban wasteland dotted with garbage dumps. Olmsted and Voss transformed this wasteland into something like its original appearance, with rolling hills, grassy meadow, and woofy thickets with thousands of trees. The result is sort of an oasis in the middle of steel and stone. Central Park has been called the city's lung because of its purifying effect on the air, not to mention its effect on the human psyche. It remains one of the best examples of what we can do with the open spaces of our cities. When you look at how far we've come as humans, when you consider that we've developed something called civilization, you come to realize that the finest evidence of our civilization is this city. The city is a symbol of experimentation and creation, a place where we can come together for work and entertainment, for art and culture, for wonder and opportunity. And, like the rural villages of the past, the city is where we come together to share cultural experiences with other humans. Indeed, to define what it is to be human.